Morning, internet. I'm coming to you with my face today instead of scripting a video and making the sound better. But anyway, this should be a short one. For some people, it's an important one, I guess. I've heard this criticism of the Bible more than once, and the criticism is that the Bible is against knowledge, against science, against learning, and that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, if you open your Bible to 2 Peter chapter 1, you're going to find a list of 7 virtues, or literally, Peter says things you should always be increasing in, and the second one on the list is knowledge. But the argument that's made is that the Bible is anti-knowledge, and then this is from Genesis. Because in the garden, God puts the tree of knowledge in the garden and then commands Adam not to eat from the tree. Now, in logic, I forget what the fallacy that's called. I don't know. I've been thinking about it all week. I can't remember the name of that fallacy. But it's a fallacy where you bring, you call it half-truth. You bring in some of the information that's relevant, but you leave out the rest. So you don't actually lie. You just bring in some of the truth, and then those particular parts of the truth you brought in lead to the conclusion that you're trying to lead the person to. Let's bring in the whole truth. The whole truth is that God does put the tree in the garden and commands Adam and Eve not to eat from it. Satan comes and says God doesn't want you to eat from it because you'll be smart. That was what Satan said. So Satan actually gives the reasoning why God doesn't want you to eat from it. If you flip back to chapter 2, God actually commands Adam to initiate really science. He says, I want you to name, all the animals. In other words, the science, I think it's called phylogeny, of finding all the animals, paying attention to the differences, their characteristics, and classifying them. It's very odd that he would do that if he didn't want Adam to learn and know things. And I think if we take the full spectrum of Genesis 1, 2, and 3 into account, it would appear that what God wanted was more like perhaps the tree represented a shortcut to knowledge instead of actually having to study and learn. And I think there's something of value for us to learn there. Shortcuts to knowledge are typically a bad idea. And you and I, in our life, we don't have magic fruit, but shortcuts to knowledge abound, because there are times in life when you can make assumptions, or when you can decide that something makes sense when you don't really know if it makes sense, and it causes all kinds of frustrations, especially if you decide, I think this person thinks this about me, or something like that, and you don't really know if they think that about you. But in a sense, that's a shortcut to knowledge. You just decide to believe X. The shortcuts to knowledge are dangerous and bad, especially when they involve assumptions about other people, but assumptions about all sorts of things in life. I don't know how many times as a kid I was studying for a test, and I just assumed that I got it, or come up with something that seemed like it kind of makes sense, And in fact, the number one complaint in the world today that you hear is that someone is saying and complaining that someone else is being irrational, that they're not taking their time and thinking things through clearly, that they just kind of come up with something quick that kind of makes sense, and it really falls short of making sense, but it seems like it makes sense. In fact, the very premise for this video is a logical fallacy of where this person is bringing in some of the relevant information and leaving out the rest. That's a type of fallacious logic. So I hope this video makes sense, and I hope it resolves something for someone somewhere. There could be other passages in the Bible that people claim is anti-knowledge, but I just want to deal with this one in this video. And thank you for watching.